Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining Groundwork Ohio's morning meeting. We're happy to be back here in 2026 with our second meeting of the year, and I am so excited about our guest, Lisa Golden. I'll introduce her momentarily, but I did want to share a quick legislative update where there are some things happening both at the state level as well as in Congress. So, first and foremost, if you have not yet taken 30 seconds, I don't know if you've seen our action alert this week. Please do complete our action alert, asking our congressional appropriators to continue funding CCDBG and the child care system. We are looking at a January 30th deadline in Congress for appropriations, and we do have some Ohio delegation members like Congressman Joyce that are on the appropriations committee. So fill out the alert if you would like to post to your social media and tag your congressional representatives. Our team's doing a lot of social media engagement on X with them this week, so feel free to repost any of our content. Caitlin's dropped it there in the chat. Thank you, Caitlin. Another note on the federal level, we did see the SAMHSA grants pulled, not last night, but the night before. There was a ton of confusion yesterday. Oops, I'm gonna just not touch the waiting room. I don't need to touch it. I'm gonna hide it. We were a little bit in a panic looking at what does that look like on the ground. And it sounds like we're hearing this morning that the grant is reinstated. So a bit of a runaround, hopefully for nothing, and hopefully it stays reinstated. Um, Here at the state level, we have been navigating conversations with some of our legislative champions and others around, thanks, Caitlin, for that link on the SAMHSA grants, childcare um, integrity and the allegations around fraud that we know hit the media frenzy. We had Director Wente from DCY here last week, and she shared some updates with our stakeholders. But yesterday afternoon, there was a legislative proposal dropped, House Bill 647, that is being sponsored by Representatives Plummer and Young, who are from the Dayton area. And Representative Plummer is a member of the Speaker's leadership team. That bill would increase Attorney General oversight of publicly funded childcare investigations when there is suspicion of misuse or fraud of public dollars. Um, there is a $5 million appropriation that would be taken from the Child Care Cred program past this most recent budget cycle to increase business partnerships in the childcare space and expand access to families to be redirected to this content, to this programming. There will be another bill introduced this afternoon at 2 p.m. from Representative Josh Williams, also on the Speaker's leadership team from the Toledo area, Sylvania Township. And he will be presenting his legislation with the current Attorney General, Dave Yost, and Representative Swearingen from Huron, both Republicans. We don't know yet what's in that bill. The only indication we have around content is that he wants to leverage existing technology to enhance oversight of the child care system, funding publicly funded child care system. So we will do a deep bill analysis on both. The House does not meet until February, so we have some time to figure out what's in these provisions, these legislative proposals, and kind of galvanize around testimony opportunities and things like that. So wanted to let everybody know they're happening, but we have a little bit of time to get our ducks in a row. I am going to pass it over now. Happy to answer questions about that offline or shoot me an email or call. Our friend Lisa Golden is here today. I'm going to share a little bit about her background. She's an implementation consultant at Triple P America, which is positive parenting programming. And she's also a member of our Maternal and Young Child Health Advisory Council. So we're very grateful for Lisa's leadership in the maternal and young child health space. She's a skilled clinician, program administrator, and trainer with over 20 years of experience working with children, families, and professionals. We were just chatting before we hopped on. She's been presenting all over, not just here in Ohio, but in other states. And she works to support programming across the country in implementing evidence-based parenting interventions and professional development opportunities for early childhood educators. She's also a licensed supervising social worker and has a master's in science of social administration from Case Western University, Reserve University, and a bachelor's in social work from Capital. Lisa brings extensive experience providing therapeutic interventions to children and families, providing community education, and developing innovative programs to move toward healthy social, emotional development and wellness. Lisa, thank you so much for being here. I want to stop talking so we can learn from your wisdom. Folks, drop questions in the chat and we'll try to reserve a few minutes at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that. I appreciate the updates and all the work that the folks at Groundworks are doing all the time to keep us informed. I will try not to belabor my information today. I know we have a very short period of time together. It's nice to see some familiar names and faces today. So hello to some of those folks that I know. But I'm here to talk with you about some really great resources that have been around in Ohio for a number of years, but we're really trying to continue to build awareness and just make sure that our folks in the early learning space and early childhood and working with families, all of your folks are familiar with these resources. These resources I'm going to talk about are free, and thanks to the Ohio legislative that support that we've always had with Triple P and Peace, I want to share with you a couple of resources that are currently available and continue to be available for parents and caregivers. So I'm with Triple P America. Hopefully, folks are familiar with Triple P. Triple P has been around for a very long time, especially in Ohio for about the last 10 to 15 years, with most of our support coming from Ohio Children's Trust Fund. So the trust fund has really led the work in this space, supporting parents. And so we know the importance of equipping caregivers with the necessary tools and resources they need for children to be successful. We know that caregivers face challenges sometimes in their path as a parent, but we also know that we have some similar challenges in the early learning community. And so as we think about how do we support parents to not only build their skills as a parent, increase their support, their relationships with their children, we also know that caregivers in early learning communities and spaces need that type of support as well. And we know that both parents and caregivers oftentimes face challenges. Sometimes those challenges are very similar, but in different settings. And so what I'm sharing with you today are going to be resources that are available for early learning professionals, but also resources that can be shared with parents as well. Triple P has a collaborative approach to working within systems and helping support parents and caregivers. And so we think about Triple P, you've probably seen it in lots of different places, in our mental health systems, in our prevention programs, our community behavioral health programs, our educational systems, our hospital systems are offering Triple P. We're seeing a growing increase in Triple P being supported in our child welfare agencies. And so really it is this approach of how do we equip folks, especially those caregivers of very young children early on. And so Triple P has tried to do that. I used to deliver Triple P in early learning space as an early childhood mental health consultant. And when we would deliver Triple P in early childhood settings, we'd often find that teachers were saying like, wow, we really wish we had something like this for us. And so while we tried to help talk to teachers about how we might adapt strategies in the Triple P parenting program, we also learned that Triple P had a program for early learning professionals. And so that is the PEACE program. PEACE stands for the Positive Early Childhood Education Program. That's kind of a mouthful, so we just call it PEACE. And PEACE is an online learning platform. It's designed to be online because we want it to be flexible. We know that early learning professionals have lots of different demands of their time and schedule. We know that some of our settings that we're working within, there's limited time and space for professional development, especially our providers who are providing care within their homes need flexible opportunities for online learning. And so the PEACE program offers that flexibility. There are 4 modules. They take about 45 minutes to an hour to complete, but they're self-paced. And so if you have an educator who wants to do some of the modules during a break time, or maybe there's some time when children are doing other activities and they have some time to do some professional development, they can do 10 or 15 minutes at a time. But maybe they want to do something on their own time, or a family childcare professional wants to do it on Sunday afternoon when they have a bit of downtime. And so the program is really designed to be flexible in the way they can be accessed on a tablet, a desktop, a laptop, however or whenever educators would like to use those time to access the modules. And then we're really thinking about really practical, easy use strategies. Nothing too super complicated, but really it's the intentionality behind the types of strategies that are being presented that make them effective. We're helping teachers understand how they can strengthen their relationship with children and the types of communication patterns that they have and interactions they have, how you can prevent challenging behavior in the classroom in the way that you structure an environment or the way that you offer instructions. It's going to help educators learn ways to teach children new skills or help reinforce skills that children are already familiar with and know. It's going to talk about ways to help prevent some challenging behavior in the classroom, but also when those behaviors happen, what can they do? So the strategies are going to be appropriate for lots of different children. There is coaching available, and I'll touch on that a little bit later as we talk about the program. But the strategies, there's 22 strategies appropriate for those in our infant toddler classrooms all the way up to our school agers. We're thinking about kindergarten, maybe first grade, really with these areas of focus of how do we help children develop in a positive way, and really thinking about the educator as a tool in being able to do that. In Ohio, Peace has been going strong for a few years. Some folks might have heard about Peace a few years ago when there was a pilot in Central Ohio, and then there was a larger statewide rollout of Peace. At that time, folks were really encouraged to participate in the program. There were some incentives that were happening for certain providers at that time, along with some incentives around coaching with our partners at the child care resource and referral agencies. That rollout was really successful. We saw some really positive outcomes. Educators, both new to the field, but also seasoned educators, finding the information and resources to be really helpful, finding that the children that they are serving and supporting were really benefiting. Our outcomes also show that educators would tell other teachers about it. To me, that's one of the biggest benefits or demonstrates the benefit of the program is when we have educators saying, yes, I would tell my peer, I would tell my colleague to do this. And so it's been really successful in the statewide rollout. And right now we're in what we consider a maintenance phase. And so we're thinking about how do we continue to maintain this information? How do you continue to get these modules out to educators? Because there's been a nice investment into the program. We have lots of online modules or course codes available for educators. And so we want to be able to get those out and be able to continue to educate the workforce as we have new folks coming to the workforce or folks who are looking for continued professional development opportunities, learn ways to access the codes. Here are just some quick snapshots of what the program looks like. So we're looking at, children who are really in actual settings. So we're not thinking about like theoreticals. There's going to be a lot of visuals. There's going to be videos of teachers in action, kids in action, where they're putting those strategies to the test and really thinking about opportunities for teachers to reflect on, like, what does this mean for my setting? What does it mean for the group of children that I work with? So the program modules are really interactive. It's not meant to be something that you kind of just watch and can do other things. It really is meant to be interactive with different exercises and videos. You'll see there's a dashboard where educators can see their progress as they move through the different modules. And then there's different interactive exercises, as I mentioned, along with different resources that can be downloaded along the way. When educators finish the program, they are able to get 4 hours of Ohio approved credit. We're currently working with Okra to update some of the information so it can align specifically with some of the step up to quality requirements. But it is approved for 4 Ohio approved credits. So once the educator completes the program, they will receive a certificate, and then their profile in Okra will be uploaded to demonstrate those 4 hours of completion. So as I mentioned, as we think about that collaborative approach that Triple P has tried to have with programs and with communities, we have what we call ways to build peace. So it's great if we have the opportunity for an individual educator to complete the program, but it's even better if maybe they can have their co-teacher or their in their classroom be able to participate, or if a program is able to have like a whole building participate. So there's the opportunity to do that. So if educators complete the program, that's wonderful. We also have this opportunity for coaching for educators. During the pilot, there is a group of folks at our child care resource and referral agencies, but also we've continued to have some of our early childhood mental health consultants around the state trained as peace coaches. And so some of our early childhood mental health consultants can support educators who have gone through the peace program or who are actively working through the peace program to give them some additional tips to help them generalize, maybe across different age groups or child behaviors, thinking about how it can really blend with their child care program's philosophy, or just to help educators have an additional support as they move through the content, ask questions, and really maintain that support and those strategies ongoing in their practice. And so we think about even it could be even better if we have our educators that are working through these strategies, but also how can we then bring the parents along? So thinking again, we are considering how we can support children in their really critical spaces where they're learning and where they're living at home and their families. And so if we can have peace happening in the early childhood space and then have the Triple P program happening at home for parents, that could be really something special. We have that continuity between home and school that can be really important. We have consistency and approaches for both parents and teachers. And of course, that only benefits children. So, when we think about one of the greatest ways to build peace or that Triple P community is really coupling the peace program along with Triple P for parents. And I'll share with you how to get parents access to that program as well. So how do you find peace? How do you get to these free online courses? Many of you are going to be familiar with the OKRA website and the Ohio Professional Registry. And so that's where you find the peace course. The course is listed. If you go into the find trainings, you simply have to enter peace. You don't have to enter in the entire name. The series will come up. I don't want anybody to be alarmed because it says non-OA. I'm not sure why it shows that on the front end when you first search it, but please be assured that once you can click on the actual course, you will see the 4 components. They are all approved for individual Ohio approved credit. Once you register on OKRA, it is a manual process. So I actually go in and check registrations, or someone from our team checks the registrations pretty regularly. So you will get access to the course within about 24 to 48 hours. And then once you get that email with the course access, you can get started right away. Individual educators can sign up. We also know teams might sign up to take the course together. And then once it's completed, we will enter the completion into OKRA and then get those 4 hours of credit. And then finally, we want to be able to share with you, well, how can I get this information to my parents? Maybe you've heard about Triple P in your community. We have lots of folks who are doing Triple P in person in their community. We also have launched the Triple P online program that's been going on for the last couple of years. And so that's another flexible way for parents to get access to this information. And so the Triple P online program is available at no charge for any parent in any part of the state, all 88 counties. We do have parents from all 88 counties currently participating in the Triple P online program. It's appropriate for our parents of really young children, all the way up to teens. So if you have parents, families that have older kiddos in their family, and so maybe they're fine with, how they can support their younger child, but maybe they're curious about, their 10-year-old or 13-year-old or 15-year-old. So it could be a nice way to help support parents and give them an additional resource for the family. So I know that's a lot of information about the Triple P program. I want to stop sharing just for a moment so I can pull up a website. I'll take a quick pause if there's any questions.
Yeah, we have 2 in the chat already, Lisa. Folks are engaged. The first is, are there any components that would support literacy with children in kind of more that elementary school 5 to 8-year-old range?
Yeah, a lot of the strategies are really built around communication that definitely help support early learning and literacy. The strategies are also designed to be able to encourage children to gain new skills. So we're thinking about positive ways we can encourage behavior that we want. So if that means like reinforcing practice, if it means being able to just communicate more with children, there's lots of different strategies that are really created to be able to help emphasize existing learning, but also teach new skills.
Thank you. The second is around how would an ECMH consultant become a trainer for the piece?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So we have a couple of options. So Triple P America, the organization I work for, offers peace coach training. So that is one way to get trained as an individual. You could reach out and I could talk with you about options. In the past, the state has offered some trainings. That would be more of a question of, maybe your ECMH leadership, if that's something we'll be able to invest in. In the past, there's been some cohort training. So I've had the opportunity to meet with early childhood mental health consultants around the state who've gotten trained. But those are two current paths. Right now, we share training with our partners in Canada. So there's folks in the US that deliver peace coach training for individuals who are interested, and then also our partners in Triple P Canada.
You.
Our efforts all year. So the resources that I'm sharing today are available all year round. So the parenting resource is available for parents anytime through the the Triple P Ohio website, as well as the Peace Coach, the Peace Educator models also available year round through the Ochre website. And I was just going to share really quickly as we're wrapping up the websites for both, so you can just kind of see where you can access the information. Put this in the chat. Navigating screens early in the morning. I've not had my coffee just yet. This is the Triple P Ohio website for parents. I'm going to actually share my screen one more time. And so you can see this is the website where parents would go to get signed up for the course if they're interested. It will give them some brief tips about parenting. There's some good little articles, blog posts, types of things in there. It gives information about if they want to find someone in person who's delivering Triple P. We know that online is not for everybody. But if you scroll all the way down, this is also where folks would access the PEACE program. So if educators are curious and hearing more about the PEACE program, that would also be where you could go to the link and learn about the PEACE program in Ohio. So it has some information about PEACE. It also has information about the course itself and how do you get registered. Here's a tab. If folks are interested in coaching, you can request coaching and I can try to get you connected with a coach in your area. I just wanted to kind of highlight those two opportunities and help you see the information on the website and encourage you to take a look.
Thanks, Lisa. It sounds like someone would like to promote in Dayton if there's a way to share a QR code for this site, maybe after the call. We could always include that in our follow-up too, in case others wanted to print it out on a flyer or anything like that.
Sure, we do have some digital flyers that I can send those to you, Brittany. You can share with the group.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the question, Steve. Does anybody else have questions about implementation or programming or access? I would love to know, obviously this is not just statewide, but I didn't realize Canada has this programming as well, that we're international now, which is fantastic. Are there approaches or partnerships that you're seeing in other states that or like the next thing on the horizon that other states might be doing that you'd like to see Ohio do next that we could support or amplify?
Oh, wonderful. That's a great question. I love the part of my job where I get to see what's happening in different states. So, for instance, in Canada, we have their implementation of the PEACE program is really focused on early intervention. The strategies that are shared, the 22 strategies of the PEACE program, actually draw in strategies from the parenting program that are for typically developing children, but also draws in some of the strategies from a program called Stepping Stones, which is for parents of children who have disabilities. And so those strategies have been adapted for early learning setting. And so the approaches and strategies for peace are really appropriate for, our typical early childhood settings, but also those settings that are inclusive of other types of abilities. And so in Canada, that's really been their focus. Our partners down in the Carolinas have been rolling out the program in their Head Start programs. And so being able to utilize their mental health consultants in the Head Start programs has been a really incredible, just seeing how they've been able to utilize it in their sites. The Triple P program in general is international, in fact. So we know that parenting is a challenge and a need for that support around the world. And so being able to see in lots of different places where there's partnerships in community settings and behavioral health settings, hospital settings, child welfare system, juvenile justice, thinking about how can we help our parents who have substance use disorders, and how do we help support them as they're integrating maybe back into their child's life, or wanting to parent differently. And so it's really exciting to see the different areas that the program has been involved. And then for me as an early childhood focused person, being able to see how we're really being able to connect again, that home and school environment is really critical.
Yeah, our focus is obviously the early childhood space too, but it's exciting to hear about the broader spectrum across a family, that the impact that the programming could have. We do have one more question from Brandy in the chat. We had our ECMH consultants trained through the Whole Child Matters grant when that training was offered for free. Are there any discussions of doing this again or maybe something similar if you're familiar with that Whole Child Matters grant process, Lisa?
I am. In some of my previous roles, I worked really closely with Whole Child Matters and some of the grantees and folks there. So some of those familiar names and faces I mentioned earlier. Thank you, Grace. And so that those trainings at that time were funded through, at that time, it would have been like Bold Beginnings efforts or Department of Job and Family Services. We partner currently with Department of Children and Youth. And so we take our marching orders from Ohio Children's Trust Fund and DCY and how they want to approach how we are utilizing the resources currently. So I've not been made aware of coach training, not just yet. But again, the piece modules for educators are absolutely available. Encourage consultants to take the piece modules if they've not been trained as coaches. Their expertise definitely helps lend some support to that. So even if they're not trained as formal coaches, there's benefit for our consultants around the state to take the modules, to be able to be messengers of this great resource and be able to share with educators if they come in contact.
Thanks, Lisa. And I'll just share if there are any gaps that you or anybody on the call identifies, we're always happy to chat more offline too and talk about including that in future budget advocacy efforts that Groundwork works on as well next General Assembly.
I'm going to go ahead and put my contact information also in the chat. If anybody wants to email me, if you have questions about, more specific questions about the PEACE program, if you're curious about the Triple P program, what's happening in your area, happy to meet with people to kind of talk about options. Again, ask if you have different questions regarding specifics around the program. Always happy to meet with people, or if you have meetings that you'd like to be able to share this information, be happy to do so.
Thank you so much. We've got 2 minutes left if anybody thought of anything while we're chatting. Lots of love in the chat for Lisa, of course.
Well, early childhood's really been a passion of mine. And so being able to join everybody this morning has been really wonderful. Like I said, nice to see some familiar faces. Really, I just want to get the information and resources out. A lot of folks are not aware of these resources, and but they're free. You want to get those, especially things that have had the investment and support for such a long time. And you just want to make sure that people know about it and access it. And we're not about recreating the wheel. We want to make sure we use our current wheels, and not always think of something new. Sometimes it's nice to just be reminded of what's already in existence.
Absolutely. Well, we'll do our best to promote all these incredible materials after the call with our network and just really appreciate your time and expertise, Lisa. We are so grateful to have you in our network and look forward to continuing to work with you.
All right. Thank you.
Have a wonderful morning, everyone.